The Simpsons. In this video, we're going to be exploring and comparing old footage to new footage of what is arguably the most influential and iconic animated TV shows of all time. So iconic, in fact, that it has lasted, how many seasons has it lasted? 31. They're doing a TBA on season 31. That's 31 years of animated television. And you can be damn sure that the animation style has changed in that time. Today we're going to explore a little bit of that together and compare the old Simpsons to the new Simpsons, but before we get started, a little bit about The Simpsons. The Simpsons is an American animated sitcom created by Matt Groening and the Fox Broadcasting Company. Since its debut in December 17th, 1989, 665 episodes of The Simpsons have been broadcast, making it the longest running American sitcom. The Simpsons received acclaim through its first 9 or 10 seasons, which are generally considered the golden age. In 1990, Bart Simpson quickly became one of the most popular characters on television in what was termed Bartmania. He became the most prevalent Simpsons character on memorabilia, such as t-shirts. In the mid-1990s, millions of t-shirts featuring Bart were sold, and as many as 1 million were sold on some single days. Believing Bart to be a bad role model, American public schools banned t-shirts featuring Bart next to captions such as, "I'm Bart Simpson, who the hell are you?" and "Underachiever," and "Proud of it, man." The Simpsons merchandise sold well and generated $2 billion in revenue during the first 14 months of sales. Critics' reviews of early Simpsons episodes praised the show for its sassy humor, wit, realism, and intelligence. However, in the late 1990s and around the airing of season 10, the tone and emphasis of the show began to change. Some critics started calling the show tired. By 2000, some long-term fans had become disillusioned with the show and pointed to its shift from character-driven plots to what they perceived as an overemphasis on zany antics. Now, aside from some argued decline in quality over the recent years, and some recent controversies, the most recent one of which involved Apu and his stereotypical characterization, the show itself remains the most impactful cartoon of all time, with comic books, film, music, theme park rides, and video games all in its name and in its honor. So this video is the first of a potential series where I examine and compare old versus new. So if you have any ideas, maybe it's Powerpuff Girls or Dragon Ball Z or Rugrats, I don't know. Let me know what you want to dive into, old versus new. But today, it's The Simpsons, and let's take a look at the old. And if we're starting in season 1, keep in mind, this is like over 30 years ago. That's kind of mind-blowing. Season 1, episode 1, Simpsons roasting on an open fire. Whoa, that was janky. Now, you can see that the playback is really janky. I feel like that's probably because the only way to record this stuff would have been on like VHS. So I feel like this is more of a conversion issue from the old formats to digital formats that we have today. I love this bit with the legs. Look at the legs. What the hell even is that? I mean, the first thing I'm noticing looking at this old animation is the cartoons are so expressive. Like, look at Homer's sad pose there. His whole body is like slumped forward and in that pose. There's a rubberiness to the characters that I know isn't there in later episodes. All right, so now we're on to episode 3, again, season 1. Like, even with the landscapes and the way the bus traveled over that hill, look how rubbery that looks. Everything looks soft and round and malleable. You can see where corners are cut. Like, there is nothing moving in this except for like a back panel sliding and his mouth and arm. It's pretty bad. You can see the development of early characters, but there was just no huge cast like we ended up with. I mean, even look at the Simpsons family. What the hell is up with Lisa? Look at that neck. The trade-off is when you have really rubbery characters, there's a lack of solidity and reliability. No one ever really looks the same the second time they're drawn or in the next scene. But the huge benefit is you get so much more expressiveness. Look at that. They really squash and stretch him in something as simple as a gasp.
How could you think of killing yourself? We love you.
Oh my god, that's a dark theme. I feel like I'm gonna be so impacted by nostalgia in watching this stuff and critiquing it. By watching this, they get a pass on pretty much everything. But objectively, a lot of it looks pretty awkward. God, you gotta give them credit for the drama though. Like, this is still season 1. This is episode 5 of season 1. There's a lot of ambition here. And this scene, look at that, running up the stairs. You just wouldn't see that in recent episodes. There is a lot happening there. I mean, the scale's off, the solidity of everything is a bit weird, but the motion, the squash and stretch is really in there. Everything really has a sense of weight to it. There's so much intensity and visual, physical drama. It's awesome. All right, so now we're on season 3, episode 1, in 2 short seasons. It feels immediately closer to The Simpsons that we're all familiar with. It's not like really clean yet, but the characters feel really fleshed out and defined. Like Mr. Burns and Smithers are characters that have exact shapes as a foundation that the animators work from. Now in season 5, you'll see, especially with the environments, everything feels super solid and clean. I mean, watch this. So there you go, look at the house running away. Like, compare that environment to the one earlier where the school bus was driving over the hill, where everything felt like marshmallowy and almost like a Tom and Jerry environment. Whereas here, that is a street that exists. In a way, it makes the house running away and falling over and burning down a bit more ridiculous and funny because it looks like it's happening to a real house. There's a much clearer sense of scale and solidity there. I think it makes the jokes hit harder because it's less Tom and Jerry, it's more reality, but the absurdism is still there, so it's sort of playing off of our sense of what is real. All right, this is another 2 seasons later. This is a great gag. Still good animation, like that's good motion there, like the way he grew and lifted up, and we come back to reality. I feel like at this stage, the show knew exactly what it was and what its tone was, especially by now, like really good at executing it. We're seeing so many different characters here, where the initial schoolyard had like 1 or 2 in season 1 that we were supposed to recognize, whereas now like there are jokes for every single one of these school characters. Which, I mean, really shows the appeal of the show in its golden age, because every new episode and then every new season built this set of characters that we learned about and we became familiar with. But you can see how there is an endpoint to that. You can't do that infinitely. Early episodes of The Simpsons were going for a feeling of slapstick, right? There's a lot of motion happening here, but it's much more punchy and solid. So it's less rubbery, but it's more based on beats and really cleanly executed. So if you watch this through, you can see how much more wisely it's been storyboarded and planned out, and how it's all about timing until the punch of the joke comes, it just hits. So we have a hit, change of view, added intensity with this low angle. Here's the approaching boom, break, fall, slap, breath. And there was like a slight pause there, and then that's the gag. Like, we have all this intensity, and then we have beat, 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 breath, and then like a juxtaposing children's cheer, because that's the gag. It's just so well executed. This is a gag that was so quotable. Every new scene of absurdity just added a layer of hilarity.
It's just a little slimy. It's still good.
It's just a little airborne. It's still
just
good.
a little airborne. It's still good. It's still good.
I mean, don't tell me after that episode, you didn't have some sort of food thing that you dropped and you quoted that episode. I know you did, because I did and everyone did. I feel like happy and excited having built up to that phase, that golden era of The Simpsons. So I am slightly terrified to look at new episodes because I know I'm bound to be disappointed, but I'm gonna give it a chance. So we are picking up in season 27. Let's see how drastically things have changed. It's very pretty. There's a great parallax zoom there, but the characters feel really bland. Like, they're more solid than ever before, but there's just such a lack of character. I think they animate in Toon Boom or that sort of Harmony Suite or whatever it is now, and that's how they get things like that parallax thing happening, because they can do all those layers and camera movements and stuff. But look, his hand's animated there. Like, look at him talking here. That head is redrawn, so it's not just a cheap character rig. Credit where credit is due. There's something really flat about it. Like, his eyebrows aren't moving much, expression's not very readable. So we've got some sort of cell shading here. There's depth on all of the characters. Definitely a lot more to this visually. Oh, shit. Maybe recent episodes could be pretty dark as well. I genuinely wasn't expecting that.
On a scale of 10 to 10, how'd you do?
Drip, drop, you flop. Drip, drop, you flop. Drip, drop.
Oh my god, I think that's the gag. I think they go for a joke in this. Feels really cringe. Drip, drop, you flop. Who writes that line? Am I being too harsh on the new episodes? Like, it just doesn't seem very funny. Alright, this is the next season. Season 28, The Caper Chase. I mean, that's decent animation. Why is it that it feels lower effort when there's no less effort? That's a lot of redrawn things that could have been done cheaper or easier. But that was good motion. It just feels a bit lacking. All right, season 29, the next season later. Again, this is like even further from that last background comparison. So we had the marshmallowy landscape of season 1, the more solid landscape of season 7. This is season 29, and it almost feels like a 3D rendering. It's so solid. I'll admit, it actually looks really nice. It's pretty crisp, and I'm not entirely unsure that that bus isn't a 3D rendering. I need to see, actually. Let's look at the bus, frame by frame. That's a line rendered 3D model. I'll bet you anything that the street itself actually is a 3D model. Those models are pretty much all 3D animated or fairly cheaply put together as far as like using the programs to just sort of copy and paste and replace some of the animation. Like they're definitely not redrawn. They're just being tweened around, so to speak. The explosion animation is, I think, the same, and yeah, it's definitely the same and just being copied and pasted. It's the same tone of joke. There's an absurd happening of physicality in a really crisp, clean, reality-looking place, but it's just not working. Maybe due to bad writing, let's face it, most probably due to bad writing, but I'm wondering if these really clean 3D environments and their sort of easier animation tactics aren't serving it very well. Don't give up, don't give up. This is season 30. This is the most recent season of The Simpsons. Episode 1, season 30. Come on, maybe there's a comeback.
From Heights.
Oh, that was the joke! That was the joke! Ha ha Heights. If you read that as a script, it's not funny unless you're really amused by The Simpsons referencing itself. But even that by this stage is pretty old. Oh, there's a visual gag. Do not open for 24,100 years. Alright, let's cut the show some slack. Let's leave jokes alone. Let's objectively look at animation now. What have we know so far? Things look a lot cleaner, a lot more outlined and defined and solid. Does it have the heart and soul or personality or flexibility that it used to have? What do we got here? We've redrawn those frames and then basically copying and pasting those falling down. That's fine, we'll give it that. I mean, in the past, that would have been like a lot more rubbery and goofy looking. That just sort of looks gross and horrifying. I don't know if they think that's gonna be funnier, but it definitely feels less quirky and cartoony and fun. And then we have the hit on the ground. Oh, there we go. We got a good smear frame. That's pretty good. It looks really lazy. I mean, I wouldn't blame it if the rest felt pretty rubbery, but we snap right back into that. In fact, it's on doubles and it's copying and pasting. Oh, that hurts. I'm just gonna keep doing this because this is how I feel about my beloved childhood TV show. Oh, I really wanted to like something about this.
Food fight! Use your quadratic equations, man.
Oh boy. What's happening? What's happening? I feel like I need closure. It's not a bad gag. Like that's the weird thing. The nerds being like weirdly great at a food fight and using maths and their brains to like kick ass. It could be done really well. Why does it suck? It feels like so half-assed. Slightly from a writing perspective, but that could be fixed with awesome animation. And we're getting so much of this. Reactions to action around what's happening. Where's the action? Where's the characterization? Oh god, no, this is the joke. This is the joke. It's like they had gay sex is the joke. This is it. That's what we're looking at now. It's our childhood getting completely f***ed over by whatever the hell is happening here. Why am I so angry? Why is this happening?
With regards, C. Montgomery Burns. Ah, Lenny, happy birthday.
Oh!
I think there was supposed to be a joke there, and then I think the joke here is that he signed too big, and then he ruined the surprise.
Oh!
Don't let a signature drive you crazy.
I don't know what I'd do without you.
Happy birthday.
Oh my god! That's a joke! That's a joke! What a note to go out on. I really wanted to find something endearing about the recent episodes. I really did, for the sake of my childhood and the sake of this video ending on something of a positive note. But what the hell? That's the joke! Wow! I guess the most I can say is that it looks objectively better from a purely aesthetic standpoint. But from a charm standpoint, it's really lacking. Like, everything feels really flat and bland in these recent episodes. As much as they do with the parallaxing and the character rigs, there's no intense motion, there's no real use of the principles of animation or anything. That's not getting started on the humor. Don't let me get started on the humor. Oh, stop. No. Oh, not again. No. No. Oh, just stop it. Alright, I'm just gonna have to call it there. That's it. This is a depressing video. My childhood is ruined. And I'd like to know what other shows you'd like me to ruin our childhoods for in the comments down below. Let me know what shows you want me to compare to the old versus the new. And if you like being sad too, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more fun with art and animation and creativity and all that stuff. I'm sorry for this video, but it had to be done for closure. And now we know. Oh God, do we know. Till next time. I'll see you later. It's not